An unconfirmed online rumor and a few blurry test photos. What could possibly have led countless military enthusiasts to believe, within just a few days, that the Chinese Air Force is converting J-8 fighters into drones and has already entered the test flight phase? The answer is simple: this isn't the first time. Several years ago, the Chinese military did indeed convert a large number of J-6 fighters into UAVs, and this information has been officially confirmed on multiple occasions. Precisely because of this history, people naturally assume that similar conversions might be extended to other older fighter models. However, while this speculation has some merit, it is likely not entirely accurate. To understand what it would mean if the J-8 were indeed converted into a UAV, we must first clarify exactly how the J-6 conversion was carried out back then. According to public information, the J-6 UAV had its cannon armament system, ejection seat, and other equipment removed, while an automatic flight control system and autopilot were installed, along with wing pylons and a terrain-following navigation system. This modification completed its first test flight as early as 1995, and its purpose was straightforward: to serve as an attack aircraft and training target drone for fighter pilots, anti-aircraft gunners, surface-to-air missile operators, and radar operators to conduct drills and target practice. Simply put, it involved transforming a retired supersonic fighter into a remotely piloted missile. Given the technological capabilities of the time, this approach did indeed hold some tactical value. However, the concept of unmanned J-6s is no longer viable today. The most immediate reason is that the J-6 airframe is far too outdated, and maintaining even basic flight capability requires significant maintenance costs. More importantly, today's small and medium-sized drones and various low-cost precision strike munitions have far surpassed the modified version of this old fighter in terms of cost-effectiveness, stealth capabilities, and effective range. Japanese media occasionally stirs up hype regarding the so-called unmanned J-6, a practice that reveals a fundamental lack of understanding of China's military developments in recent years. If the same modification approach were applied to the J-8, the results would likely be no better. While the J-8 does indeed have clear advantages over the J-6 in terms of airframe condition, maximum speed, and service ceiling, a target with no stealth capabilities and a speed of around Mach 2 poses no real challenge to modern air defense systems. Moreover, a key reason for the large-scale retrofitting of the J-6 back then was its massive inventory. The J-8 clearly lacks this numerical advantage. As proven by experience, without sufficient numbers to back them up, the operational significance of such unmanned weapons is extremely limited. So where does the J-8's true value lie? The key lies in its relatively modern platform. Some J-8 variants are capable of launching medium-range air-to-air missiles and dogfight missiles, bringing it closer to the platform requirements of modern air combat than the J-6. Of course, it is unrealistic to expect an outdated interceptor to fully exploit the capabilities of advanced medium-range missiles, but as a test platform, the J-8 is qualified. It can at least perform basic functional verification. This is crucial, because while unmanned aerial combat technology is developing rapidly, it remains in its infancy globally. Remotely controlling a drone to attack a target without air defense fire is relatively easy, but getting a drone to autonomously make decisions, identify targets, and choose the right moment to attack in a complex air combat environment is far more difficult than the average person might imagine. Even if drones can be remotely controlled by frontline pilots, in extremely complex aerial combat scenarios, pilots may simply not have enough time to react. This means that drones must possess a certain degree of autonomous decision-making capability, which requires the support of artificial intelligence. The current trajectory of AI development is clear: the more data input, the better the algorithm performs. While collecting pilot operation data is not difficult, the issue lies in the fact that the logic underlying unmanned aerial combat may differ fundamentally from that of human pilots. Simply training drones by mimicking human pilots' operational patterns would effectively limit their combat performance. Therefore, data specifically tailored to unmanned aerial combat scenarios must be obtained to help AI make more effective tactical decisions. Given that current unmanned air combat technology is still immature, various tests are indispensable, and modifying existing fighter jets serves as an ideal testing platform. The J-8 possesses basic beyond visual range air combat capabilities, and is in generally good condition, making it highly suitable for such experiments. As for directly modifying and testing active-duty third or fourth generation fighters, this is clearly not feasible at present. Even with the early Su-27 series, China has consistently sought to maximize their operational value, and will not retire them lightly until their service life is exhausted. However, As the scale of fifth-generation fighter deployments gradually expands, it is indeed possible that some retired third- and fourth-generation fighters may be modified for testing in the future. Today's technological capabilities are vastly different from those of 20 years ago, making it entirely feasible for retired fighters to continue performing air combat and strike missions, rather than being treated as disposable assets as in the past. By comparison, the U.S. military has been ahead of the curve in this regard. The history of the U.S. military converting retired fighters into unmanned target drones dates back to the 1960s. Later, the QF-4 Phantom target drone served for many years, before being replaced by the QF-16. Starting in 2010, Boeing began converting retired F-16s into QF-16 unmanned target drones. This program lasted 15 years and resulted in the conversion of 127 aircraft. The modification process for the QF-16 is quite interesting. Technicians removed unnecessary components such as the F-16's 20mm cannon and radar, and installed a remote control system, autopilot, telemetry and scoring systems, and a flight termination system. The modified aircraft can be operated either by ground-based remote control or manually by a pilot. More importantly, the U.S. military is also advancing a project called Venom, which specifically modifies 6 F-16s into test platforms for artificial intelligence and autonomous flight systems, with the aim of accumulating technical experience for the next generation of collaborative combat aircraft. This approach is essentially the same as China's potential plan to use the J-8 as a test platform. Modifying the J-8 into a drone for direct deployment in combat has very limited practical significance. The J-8's beyond visual range air combat capabilities are inherently weak, and it is difficult to integrate it with modern advanced tactical data links, meaning its value on the actual battlefield is questionable. However, if it is used as a technology demonstration and test platform, the situation is entirely different. With the continuous advancement of artificial intelligence and unmanned air combat technology, it may not be long before the comprehensive capabilities of unmanned wingmen surpass those of any 4.5 generation fighter, let alone earlier models. By then, China may well have developed the capability to manufacture unmanned combat aircraft that truly revolutionize the rules of aerial warfare. The older, modified fighter jets that once participated in these tests could then gracefully exit the stage of history. For a weapon, the fact that it remains unused during peacetime is, in itself, an honor. The modification of the J-6 back then was largely a stopgap measure necessitated by tensions across the Taiwan Strait. Today, China's military capabilities have made remarkable strides, to the point where even those hastily developed weapons systems can naturally fade into the background. As China's dominance in aerial warfare gradually becomes evident, it may eventually possess the capability to produce unmanned combat platforms that truly rewrite the rules of aerial combat. By then, the modified fighter jets that participated in these tests will have fulfilled their historical mission without any regrets.